Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our nightly Out of Anxiety into Pesach series. Tonight, we are going to be discussing the Afikoman, one of the highlights, one of the, let me shut this down, one of the highlights of the Seder experience. One of the things that our children are most excited and most involved in doing is waiting for the Afikoman from the moment I know in my house, from the moment that we break the middle matzah, which happens right towards the beginning of the Seder experience, even before the Manishtana, before we make the Kiddush, we dip the vegetable, and then before we start the entire lengthy Haggadah process, we take the middle matzah, we break it, and almost immediately in my house, the kids are already nudging and waiting. When are you going to go hide the middle matzah? They're waiting to see it be hidden. Now, really, I have to make a very important distinction. I've been going through the Seder more or less in a structure, although I'm not going through the entire Haggadah with all the depth that I've been doing all those many weeks. Um, but I'm skipping some important parts of the Magid. And the reason why I'm doing that, even though really I should talk about the most important part of the Magid, which is the Pesach Matzah Marar, which is describing the three things that need to be described at the end of the telling of the story, before we actually wash our hands for the hamotzi, and eat the matzah, and then eat the marar, and then eat the sandwich, is three very important paragraphs. The reason why I'm not discussing it tonight, good evening, those that are watching, those that are commenting, you can comment on YouTube as well. The reason why I'm not discussing it tonight, and this is important, is God willing, Monday night, I plan on doing the most important Pesach class of all of the Pesach classes we've done. They've all been important, of course. Every class is important. And some of the ideas have been very fundamental from an emotional and philosophical perspective, especially in the anxiety and stress of today's time. But but the class that I'll be teaching on Monday is especially important because it's going to be a 1 hour do-it-yourself Seder. Meaning I plan that in 1 hour, not more, not less, to go through the entire Seder from beginning to end to explain exactly what you need to do if you are home running your own Seder. And many of you that I've spoken to, that are watching, that I know, that have never done their own Seder before, they've always been in the community Seder, they've always been by their parents, or they've always been with family, they've had, different families. Just spoke to a lady a short while ago, showed me every year I cook for the Seder. The other parts, the matzah, the Seder plate, that's a different family's responsibility. They're going to be separate this year. So please make sure that if you want to know everything you need to do, what's important for the Seder, what's less important, all the critical things to make sure you do a proper kosher Seder. I plan on discussing Monday night, 7:30. I'll be on Zoom. I'm going to do a little bit of different structures. I can show PowerPoint and all that. Um, you can register. I'll send out a link afterwards. You can register. It's totally free. Please send it out to your friends. Anyone you know is doing their own Seder, which is hopefully everybody. Hopefully everyone's doing their own Seder this year. Please, they should watch this class. It's going to be very important. So the parts of the Maggid most important I'm not discussing tonight, and that's why I'm discussing them on Monday night much more briefly, but part of the whole flow. So instead tonight, I want to spend time, one of the last class we're going to have this week, going into one of the most famous and beautiful parts of the Seder, which is the Afikoman, and giving some of the deeper significance and spiritual meaning behind that. And then, God willing, we'll do the same thing with the cup of the prophet, which comes after the Afikoman, when we open the door for Eliyahu and Navi, and we'll discuss that Bezrat Hashem tomorrow night. Okay, yes, not only can you invite others, please invite others. Hello, Varsha. Welcome to Facebook. Please invite others to join the class on Monday night. In the last email I sent out, which was yesterday, another email about this Monday self Seder class. Maybe Thursday we'll send out another email. But let's please try. I'm putting time into this. I want to make sure that we can give very clear, practical, relevant guidance and direction to help all of you that will be on your own for the Pesach Seder to be able to do it right on your own. So that'll be Monday night. Again, I wish I had a cup to drink here. Okay. Let's talk about the Afikoman. So as I said, we break the middle matzah right away. The kids are waiting to see where you're going to hide it. There's some people have custom that the children actually steal the Afikoman from the table. This is based on the Talmud. The Talmud actually says that we grab chatof, we grab the middle, the broken half. We break the middle matzah, the smaller half is put back in the Seder plate. And that's because when we say the story of the Haggadah, it has to be said on a poor man's bread. As we already mentioned, a poor man's bread is bread that is broken. When a poor person has very little food, they hold on to it. They're afraid to eat it all because they don't know what they'll have to eat tomorrow night. And so therefore the smaller piece is put back and the larger piece is hidden for another time. The Gemara says that we grab that piece and they hide that piece. But obviously, but the Chabad custom is not to steal the Afikomen. We don't want to teach our children to steal, even though it's for a good thing and even though it has a source in the Talmud, etc. Nevertheless, the custom that we have, at least in my home, and the Chabad custom, is not to steal the Afikomen, but rather to hide it, and then the children have to go and look for it. And when it's getting by the end of the meal and they're already almost asleep, this wakes them all up. Next thing you know, they're turning over all the pillows in the house and knocking over all the whatever's on the counter. They're making a mess, but it's fun. It's energetic. The kids are excited again. If they can't find, they start giving out hints, hot and cold. You get the hint. I don't know how it goes in your home. It always gives a new burst of energy before the last home stretch of the Seder experience, which does not end with the meal. There's still the Afikomen and the benching and the cup of Elijah, etc. Okay. When we eat that matzah, we eat it reclining. Remember, we're eating the bread of freedom. We don't eat it straight up. We eat it reclining. Now, what's interesting is that matzah must be off the table during the meal. Why is it off the piano bench? You have the same hiding place every year, huh? We have to take the afikomen off the table, meaning when it comes time for the yachatz, break the middle matzah, we then take it off of the table. What's the reason? So the Yaivitz, who wrote, Yaakov Emden, who wrote one of the first Sidurim, he explains a very simple, basic technical answer, which is that if you're going to leave the afikomen matzah on the table during the rest of the Haggadah, what may happen? Someone may accidentally not realize which matzah it is, and they may eat the afikomen matzah during the meal before the time to eat it. And therefore, we put the afikomen matzah away, that it should be kept aside, that no one should mistakenly eat the matzah in the wrong time when they should not have eaten it. Anyway, there's a deeper meaning to it. When the meal is over, the last thing we eat is the afikomen. It is from the idea of dessert. In fact, the reason why we eat the afikomen is not to fulfill the mitzvah of eating matzah, but it's in order to remember the mitzvah of eating the carbon pesach, the paschal offering. In the times of the temple, we had a mitzvah not only to eat the matzah, but to take a lamb, to roast it, and that was the pesach offering. Today, obviously, we don't have a pesach offering, so the afikomen on the Seder plate, we have the zroa, we have the shank bone, but the shank bone is not eaten. It is purely a symbolic remembrance of the Pesach offering. Is not actually eaten. What we eat, for a Jew to have something on the table that you don't need doesn't count. For the Jew, what really reminds us of the afikomen is what really reminds us of the meat of the Pesach offering is the afikomen matzah. So the first matzah we eat early in the Seder is to fulfill the mitzvah of eating matzah, to remember the matzah that our forefathers ate in Egypt when they left Egypt. And the second matzah, the afikomen matzah, is to remember primarily the carbon pesach. There is a custom that we have to eat 2 matzahs for the afikomen, 2 kizayis of matzah, 2 volumes, 2 eggs, because it could be for different things, but let's keep it simple. That's what it's primarily for. So we eat that matzah, we don't hide it, and this is our dessert. After the matzah, we do not eat or drink anything else, besides for the last 2 cups of wine, the 3rd cup of wine, which we'll drink after the grace, after meals, after the benching. and the fourth cup of wine, which we will drink after we finish with the Hallel and the praises of God for all the miracles that He did. The word Afikoman is an interesting word. Anyone knows what the word Afikoman means? So the word Afikoman, it comes from the Greek word, either it comes from the Greek word epikuminin, which means that which comes after, meaning dessert. So it's a Greek word for dessert. It's the last thing we eat at the meal. Or it comes from the Aramaic word or Aramaic words, afiku, min. Afiku means to bring out. Afiku, min, to bring out delicacies. Same idea, you're bringing out the delicacies with which you end the end of the Seder. Lisa, good evening. We're glad that you're watching. The custom is, well, actually, the requirement is that when we take this middle matzah and we break it, we wrap it up inside a beautiful Afikoman bag. Back every year, more than one of my kids come home with an Afikoman bag that we made in school, and we have to negotiate which kid's Afikoman bag is the one that we use to hide my Afikoman. Sometimes the kids have, one of their guests will take the other bag. The Afikoman bag actually has an importance to it. Why? Because it says when the Jews left Egypt, it says that they took the matzah, the dough, and they wrapped it in bundles and they put it over their shoulders. Because they carried the matzah that they ate when they left Egypt on their shoulders, therefore, we also wrap up this middle matzah, we wrap it into a special bag. And although our custom is not to put on our shoulder, there are actually customs Yemeni Jews, the Yemenite Jews, that I don't know exactly what they do. They would put the matzah on their shoulder and they would walk around. In some homes, they would walk around the table and then they would ask them, where are you going? And say, I'm going from Egypt, I'm going to Israel. In other homes, they had a custom where they would knock on the door. The kid would actually go out of the home with the broken matzah and then walk in. They would knock on the door, they would come in. They said, where are you coming from? They said, we're coming from Egypt. And then the child that walked in would say the man of the four questions while holding the broken matzah in the bag on the shoulder. The point is, the middle matzah is wrapped up to remember how the Jews left Egypt with the dough wrapped up. But has a beautiful significance to us. Significance is that we're showing how much we love the mitzvah of the matzah, that we're wrapping it up like a gift. We're wrapping it up like a gift. I will tell you that today I went to buy a gift for my wife, whose birthday is, God willing, Thursday, B'ezrat Hashem. And you buy a gift, you have to, I found something, we'll see if she likes it or not, I see what it is, but you have to wrap it up. So, of course, I came home, I have kids at home, we're very excited to do it, and we wrapped it up, except, okay. Good thing my wife does not watch my class. Now let's get to the soul. That's the body. That's the ritual, the customs. Now let's get a little deeper. Let's talk about the meaning, the spiritual significance, and the life lessons we can learn from the Afikoman. So, as we already know, everything has the body. What the present is. Maybe also we'll see if she likes it. Thursday. I shouldn't say what I plan for Thursday. As far as us, our extended family, I have to maybe get my wife's clearance first. We'll see. Okay. So we have the body and we have the soul. The body, we explain what is the soul? What is the deeper dimension? What is the deeper meaning of the Afikoman? So in the 15 steps of the Haggadah, if you open up the Haggadah, where's my Haggadah? And you open up the Mikadesh Urchat Karpas Yachatz Magid Rachsa Motzi Matzah Maror Korech Shulchan Orech. Next one is Tzafun Beirach. Tzafun is the word that we use to describe the Afikoman. What does the word Tzafun mean? Tzafun means hidden, buried, locked away, concealed. When something is hidden, there's a verse. Hidden is tzaf. The reason why we describe the eating of the Afikoman as tzafun, that's the term used in the Haggadah to describe this step of the Seder process, tzafun, is very simple, very obvious, because we are now eating that which had been tzafun. We are now eating that which had been hidden. Either the children hid it or the adults hid it from the children. I forgot to say one important thing in Kabbalah. It actually says that you hide the matzah in between the pillows that you lean on. And I saw a fascinating gematria at the pillow. The Kabbalah, it says between the pillows. A pillow in Hebrew is a kar, which is two, in Hebrew. Kar is spelled chaf resh, two, the numerical value 220. Two pillows is 220 plus 220 is 440, which is the word tam, which means complete, sincerity. You put it in between its hole. If you add the aleph of the Afikoman, it's MS, it's true. That's more esoteric, not a life lesson for us. So we have this hidden matzah. Either it was hidden, like in Kabbalah says, between the pillows that I was leaning on during the eating of the meal, or it was hidden under the piano bench in Randy's home, or it was hidden, somewhere up high where the kids can't find it. Whatever was hidden, and the reason why it's called safon, though, is because in spirituality and significance, this is the part of the seder where we reach the part of our soul which is normally safon, which is normally hidden. Let me explain. We have our body, we have our soul. When I say our soul, I mean our revealed dimension, our personality, our emotions, our character. We have a deeper level of our soul, which is our intellect, the way we think, the way we understand, the way we process information. So if you wanted to get Kabbalistic, you have your nefesh, which is the body, your physical life. You have your ruach as your emotions, your personality. You have your neshama, which is your intellect, the way you process information. That is all the expressed and revealable part of the soul. So in the first 12 steps of the Seder, we made Kiddush, and we washed our hands, and we broke the matzah, and we dipped in, and all that. We talked yesterday about being present and being expanded. All that is in the emotional part of the soul, in the intellectual part of the soul, the part of the soul that's normally suffering from some element of emotional bondage and shackles and slavery, and now we're breaking free. But when we talked until this point of the Seder, when we talk about going free and leaving your own personal emotional Egypt, we're describing the part of your soul that you're aware of. We're describing the element of your soul that you can associate, that you can analyze. I know that I have this insecurity. I know that I react this way, and this makes me feel this, and this triggers me like that. So we're describing a part of the soul that is to some level revealed. However, and that's good. So when the person meditates, when the person learns, when the person watches a class, you're taking information and you're using it to inspire yourself. You're becoming more educated in the meaning and the customs and the significance. And all of that makes you more connected and more involved and more uplifted in the Seder experience. And that's very important. However, this is not touching your very inner core, the essence of your soul. The essence of your soul has not been touched. When you watch a class and you appreciate a beautiful idea and you understand the significance of the word Afikoman, can be from the Aramaic word afiku, mean to bring out desserts, and now you appreciate that it's dessert, you understand something important. But the essence of the soul is not something that me and you normally are able to access and to word to tinker with. Meaning, me and you can change our emotional psyche. Me and you can change the way we emotionally react to something. We make a decision. I'm going to work on my anger. I'm going to work on my anxiety level. I get stressed out too easily. Someone else gets too worried too easily, or too afraid, or too upset, or they let people make them angry. So you say, I have this, my anger, and I'm going to work on this emotion. It's not easy, but you're aware of it. You can control it. You can meditate. You can breathe. You can go to class. You can do different techniques to change this emotional aspect of your character. The essence of your soul, that which is safon, it's the very core of your identity, the very core of your identity, and therefore it's not something that you can feel or that you can explain or you can show this is why it is. Meaning, I'll give you an example. You have a friendship, a relationship with somebody, and I can explain to you why we're friends. We both enjoy the same. We both think the same politically. We both like the same sports teams, or we both like sports, or we both don't like sports. We both like to talk about fishing. I don't know. So me and you like fishing, and that's how our relationship starts, etc., etc. However, the relationship between the parent and the child, it's not something which is the relationship that comes from an emotional relationship or that we have something in common. It's an essential bond. And that's why you can't change that. You can't access that. It's natural, it's there, and it is what it is, and it's not changeable. Very rarely do me and you have the ability to access the tzafun, the hidden essence and the hidden core of our soul. There are only very unique moments. It's very, very special times at the Ne'ilah of Yom Kippur when a person's life is in danger. And Pesach is one of the very, very few times of the year, perhaps the only two times that I can think of actually, where you're able to access the Yechida, not even the Yechida, the essence, less than you give the essence of your identity. And that only happens at the end of the process, after you've done Kiddush, and after you've sanctified yourself and you've created a space for holiness, as we discussed, and you removed physical pleasure, and you washed your hands, and you said the Haggadah, and etc., 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 and you were emotionally present, and you had the humility of the matzah, the four steps, and you were able to be in touch with your emotions, which is the Mara, and you were able to expand yourself out of your body. On Pesach night, we have the power to connect to the hidden dimension of our soul that normally we cannot get to us. And that's the power of the matzah, that it can reach into the core of our soul because it's tasteless, because it has no taste. If the matzah would have a taste, then the matzah would be limited to the emotion or to the level that it's tasty. Taste means that it has a certain definition, a certain character. What's so unique and amazing about the matzah is that it has no taste, and therefore its simplicity in a good way, not in a simple way, but in a pure way. Its purity, because it's purity, is able to allow you to directly impact not just your emotions or your intellect, but to impact the essence, the hidden part of your soul. This is the tough. This is the Afikoman. This is really the highlight of the Seder experience. The highlight is the ability, yes, to impact the essence and the core of your identity, the place from where you have intellect and emotion, all that. Exactly right, Jake. That's the idea in Kabbalah. Now let's show how that exists in the Matzah. I'm going to show you a few different ideas that are all the exact same idea, really, but they're different of what I just said, but in the two dimensions of Matzah. Sorry, not the two, but the two pieces. Sorry, the two pieces of the matzah. Because the Afikoman, what's the Afikoman? The Afikoman is the middle matzah, was broken in half. The smaller half we left on the Seder table for our experience, for our telling of the story, and the larger half is the Afikoman. These two halves of that one matzah represent two different aspects of this journey. I'll go through a few different things, and we're going to work our way back up to where we were just holding. One beautiful explanation of the two parts of this one matzah is, thank you, Mark, is that a matzah is connected to mitzvah. In fact, the letters matzah and mitzvah are the same. The matzah represents our mitzvot. We have two kinds of mitzvahs. We have the smaller part, which is open on the table. In fact, when we say the Haggadah, we say the Manashtan, we actually open up the Seder plate to reveal the matzah. It has to be sitting in front of you when you say the Haggadah. The matzah is right there in front of your eyes. And then there's the bigger matzah, which is hidden away between the pillows or under the bench, the piano bench. What does this symbolize? You tell me. There's mitzvahs that we do that are public, that are visible to everybody. And then there are mitzvahs that are hidden away. No one knows. No one knows about them. They're not done for publicity. They're done for the sake of doing what God wants you to do. The bigger part, I mean, some mitzvahs have to be public. You can't hide with everything you do. So there's some mitzvahs that are in front of it that everyone can see. But there has to be mitzvahs that are done. The larger part of the matzah is the Afikoman that's hidden away. By the way, your kids should find that because your kids should know what you do. It's important that your kids should appreciate when their father's at home. They should know why he's at home because he's teaching and he's helping Jews. But in general, especially when you're a rabbi, people think that the hard parts of the rabbi job are the parts which is really the small part. They don't even know how much more there is that's happening behind the scenes. The people that I'm involved with and interacting with. Anyway, the large part of the matzah. Not done in the public eye, it's done privately. That's one way of looking at the two halves of this one matzah. The smaller part, which is visible, the mitzvah to do in public, and the larger part, which is the mitzvah to do in private. In the Zohar in Kabbalah, it says that the three matzos on the Pesach table represent three kinds of Jews. Besides for the Kohen Levi in Israel, which is the idea of the Levi is the middle one. We break, Mark, I hope you're listening. We break the middle matzah because the Levi is the idea of Gvura, of strictness. We're going to break the strictness. I should have said, I didn't say this, I'll leave in my notes. But, um, but the middle matzah, we break the matzah, we actually break it into 5 parts. Because we take the gvura of the middle matzah, the discipline and severity of the middle matzah, and we break it into 5 to sweeten it. The idea of breaking the Afikoman, I should have said this earlier. The idea of breaking the Afikoman into 5 is because in Kabbalah, when you want to sweeten judgment, the way you sweeten it is with the number 5. And the example is, what's more powerful, my fist or my fingers? Even 5 fingers. If I punch my phone, if I punch a person, the impact is far more powerful than if I push you with my fingers. Yet your fist, although it's much more powerful, is much less useful. A fist can't write. A fist, I mean, I guess eventually you can learn how to eat with your fists, but you couldn't play music with your fist. You couldn't write notes with your fist. You couldn't sew with your. The majority of things that we do with our fingers, we only can do them because the power and the intensity of our fist is broken into 5 fingers. So do we break the middle matzah into 5 pieces to show that we're taking the middle matzah, which is a Levi matzah, which is the Levi. The Kohen is a man of love and kindness. The Levi were the guards of the temple. They represent discipline and gevura and severity, restraint. Got to break it. It's also connected to the idea of Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. The 3 matzahs represent Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Of the 3 forefathers, who was the most disciplined, most rigorous, rigid, severe by the book of the forefathers? Without a question, it was Isaac. He spent his days in prayer, in isolation and solitude, who was not a person who was able to impact and inspire others the way Abraham was, or able to build up a family the way Yaakov was. Yitzchak was a man alone. So the middle matzah is broken. But in Kabbalah, it also brings another dimension to these 3 matzahs of the top, middle, and bottom. And it says they represent 3 kinds of Jews. Tzaddik, the Rasha, and Beinoni, which is like a rich person, a poor person, and a medium person. That's what it says in Zohar. So the top person is a rich person, the top matzah. What does the top matzah represent? The top matzah represents a rich person who he's worried not about today, he's worried about his retirement. Meaning when you have money in the bank, right? If you have money covered today, a rich person, they're not worried about covering today's bills or going into Publix. How will they pay for the bread or whatever they buy in Publix today? They're worried about retirement. They're worried about the 401k. They're worried about their investments. That's what they're worried. So the tzaddik is the kind of Jew who's not worried about what's happening today. He's doing Torah mitzvahs not for this world. He's doing it for Olam Haba, for his reward in the world to come, for Gan Eden, for what will be in the future. The lowest matzah is a person who's fully involved in this world. The Rasha, the poor person. All of his action is involved in the world of Asiya, in the world of action, in the world of reality. And so what does he care about? Now, spiritually, He's like the poor person when they go to Publix, they're counting the dollars that they have in their wallet to see if they can afford to buy two loaves or one loaf. That's the poor person in a spiritual sense. He comes to me and says, should I go to Shul today? Should I keep Pesach this year or should I not have a Seder? Fine, have a Seder. Do I have matzah or not have matzah? That's that kind of. And then you have the middle matzah, the Beinani. The Beinani, in a simplistic sense, means the middleman. He's in both worlds. The Beinani is living in a physical world where he cares about physical objects. He cares about his bank account and he cares about his clothing and his car and all that. And he also cares about the world to come. He also cares about God and about Torah and holiness and spirituality. He cares about both. So the middle matzah is the one that we break. Why do we break the middle matzah? Because the middle matzah is concerned about two different worlds, this world and the world to come, Olam Haba. So since he cares about two different worlds, therefore we break the middle matzah, show you it's two different worlds. And the bigger half is for the world to come, and the smaller half is for this world. Meaning, what's sitting in front of us now? The small matzah. The regular person, me and you. So let's say we're the Dainani, we're the regular person, and we care about physical and we care about the spiritual. We care about our physical existence. We also care about our spiritual holy existence. Message of the Afikoman is that the smaller part stays on the table. That's what you see now. What you see now should only be the smaller part, the broken part. The larger part should be hidden away. The idea of hiding away the Afikoman, why are we hiding the Afikoman? The idea of hiding it is to show that for the world to come, we don't see it now. It's hidden. It's wrapped up in a garment or in a bag because we don't see it now. It's in the world to come. Clear? Let me make sure it's clear. Yes, the Levite. Levite means that the middle matzah has to be broken either because he's gevura, he's discipline, he's severity, which is a very important point, or what I was sharing today from the Zohar in Kabbalah is that the middle matzah represents the Beinani. The Beinani is a person who has 2 feet in two different worlds. They're constantly being pulled in two different directions. They want to go to shul, and they want to spend time learning, and they want to be holier, and they also want to spend more time making money, spend more time on the beach, spend more time, they want to give charity and help people, and they also want to put more into their 401k, etc. They're torn. They want to do both. But the person, we tell them the afikoman is, it's okay to be an afikoman. It's okay to be a middle matzah. We break it. The smaller half is for now for the Haggadah. And the larger half, the part that you put in the bag that you're saving for the world to come, for your spiritual existence, that has to be the larger. Now we come to an even more beautiful, deeper, higher explanation of these two halves of the matzah. Which is what the Chassam Sefer explains. You know what? Let me share one more thing before I get to the Chassam Sefer. I'll give you one more explanation before the Chassam Sefer, since we have the time. These two matzahs could also represent the Jewish people. Connect, I'm saying, with the two halves of the matzah can represent the Jewish people. The Jewish people are, unfortunately, a broken nation. We're not all on the same page. We're not all on the same page at all. There are some of us, a nice number of us, who are sitting at the Seder table. When I say sitting at the Seder table, I don't mean the Seder table. I mean, metaphorically, we're involved in Judaism. We're at the table. At the table means we're Jewishly connected. We're supporting Jewish causes. We're going to shul. We're members of synagogues. We're giving our kids a Jewish education. We're celebrating the holidays. We're watching classes on Facebook. We're at the table. So if you're watching this class now, you fall into the category of Jews. You're at the table. But unfortunately, the part of the matzah sitting at the table is the smaller half. The majority of Jews, unfortunately, are not sitting at the table. The majority of Jews are sitting elsewhere. They're hidden away. They're not visible. Their identity is hidden. They're not walking around with Jewish name tags. They you don't even know how many Jews there are, and they hide their identity not because they're trying to hide it, but just because they're so assimilated that it's hard to even see, unless something happens to see that they're Jewish. And they're not at the table. They're hidden away. They're in between. They're in between the pillows. They're in between the pillows. Comes the end of the Seder night, and we take out the second half of the the matzah. We say, this is a dessert. This is the primary part of the matzah. And we cannot finish our Seder until this half of the matzah, which is a larger half, is also eaten as part of our Seder experience and also becomes part of our matzah. And this is why the Rebbe was so into bringing Jews to the Seder, more than any other holiday, to get Jews involved in the Pesach Seder, to make sure that every single Jew has shmura matzah to eat. Because in the big scheme of history, we are at the end of the Seder. The Kiddush, the Maror. The Maror has happened already for many, many hundreds of years that we've had Maror. And being dipped in salt water, we've had already many, many times. And hearing long speeches from the rabbis, and the Bnei Brak, and the five rabbis, and Rabbi Elazar ben Azari, we've done it all. We've been there, we've done that, we've eaten the Pesach matzah and the Mar, we've done it all. We've said Dayenu, drunk in the wine, we've eaten we've done it all. We are at the end of the Seder. We're in the last inning, the last stretch. Now it's time when the Afikoman is ready to be eaten. All the kids wake up and become running to find the Afikoman and get the prize. So too now it is our spiritual duty and our divine mission to find this other lost half, the hidden half of the matzah, the hidden half of the Jew, and bring them back to Africa. On the two halves of the Afikoman matzah. Finally, I want to share with you a thought from the Chassam Sefer. Chassam Sefer explains that the smaller piece of matzah, metal matzah represents geula, it represents redemption. But the smaller half of the matzah represents the geula, the redemption from Egypt, the redemption that happened, which was a miracle and amazing wonders that got out of Egypt, they split the sea, etc. Har Sinai, and all the miracles of the desert and the well of Miriam and the mun. Those were small miracles in comparison to the miracles that are going to happen, God willing, very, very soon, with the greater redemption, which is the redemption of Mashiach. The redemption of the final redemption, ultimate redemption, which is the third Beis HaMikdash, the coming of the Messianic era, when the Jews will finally and completely be taken out of exile, never to be sent back into exile ever again. These two ideas of redemption, the redemption out of Egypt that happened 3,300 years ago, and the redemption that will, God willing, happen now with the coming of Mashiach, are the two elements of matzah that we already discussed last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I'm going to briefly review and then show you they exist even in this one piece of matzah itself. Matzah is a comparison or a combination of two opposites. The maror is all bitter. The korban pesach, to meat, it's a barbecue, it's great. But the matzah has a dichotomy. On one hand, the matzah is called lechem oni, the poor man's bread, the bread of affliction. How do we start the Seder? After we break the middle matzah, we uncover the Seder, let them say, Hey, lachma anya, the achlu avasana ba'ara de Mitzrayim. We discussed this already. This is the poor man's bread that our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. Whoever is needed, let them come and eat, etc. We explained that slaves ate matzah because they didn't have the dough to rise, because they were running to serve their masters, so they ate cheap food that doesn't get stale. That the matzah is cheap, but they ate cheap food, and they ran. So the lechem oini, the poor man's bread, is the matzah, the bread of affliction, the poor man's bread that has no flavor, has no taste. We're hiding it, the bigger part, we're only eating a small part. That's one message of the matzah. At the same time, the very same matzah has a totally different message. Later on in the Haggadah, We open up before we eat the matzah. We say towards the end of the Magid, which we're going to talk about on Monday as well. Matzah zu sha'anu eichlin. This matzah that we are eating. Al shumma. We ask, why are we eating it? And the answer is, we don't say we're eating it to remember how our fathers were slaves in Egypt and they ate matzah. Why are we eating the matzah? What do we say in Agada? To remember how there was an exodus and how God Himself came, as the expression says, that God Himself came. God Himself came and made a passing over on all the houses of people. This time when He struck Mitzrayim, that He saved our house, and therefore we bow down to Hashem. And that moment, at that very moment when HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, the King of all kings, all those titles are in the Haggadah, came and revealed Himself to the Jews, and He redeemed them. At that moment, we ran out of Egypt so fast that the dough didn't have a chance to rise. As it says in the verse, that they baked the dough that took out of Mitzrayim, dough that did not have a chance to rise, because they ran out of Egypt so fast they could not even do it. Meaning, what's the message of the matzah? The reason that we say Nagada, why are we eating the matzah? To remember the liberation, to remember how our exodus happened in such a blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, we were free men. One moment, 11:59 and 59 seconds, we were slaves in Egypt. At 12 o'clock and 2 seconds, Egyptians are begging us to leave Egypt. Like that. The dough didn't have a chance to rise. It was such a great revelation, such a great exodus. Two different stories of the matzah. The matzah contains both. Top matzah is poor, the bottom one, whatever. The middle is both. So we break it. The first half is the redemption. Even the Afikoman that represents redemption. There's two redemptions. There's a redemption that didn't remain, that allows for an exile after the redemption, or after the exodus from Egypt, we will once again become slaves. And there's a final redemption coming very, very soon. When we eat the Afikoman, we have to make sure that we are tapping into the tzafon, into the hidden dimension, not only the hidden dimension of our soul, I mentioned earlier tonight, that the word tzafon, because we're revealing the essence of the soul, the source of the soul, the part of the soul that's never normally revealed in a conscious, knowable way. And we also have to be in touch with the tzafon, with the part of the soul, sorry, the part of our identity as a Jewish people, which is the ultimate of Mashiach, that right now is hidden away. Just like we hide the Afikoman, that it's not revealed, so too we hide the Mashiach. Not we hide, God hides. I'm saying Mashiach is hidden. Right now, Mashiach is wrapped up in an Afikoman bag. He's hidden up, and he's peeking through, and the kids are looking, and we're looking, and God is giving us hints, and God is saying, hot, cold, look under the piano, and we're searching for him. And we're searching. And now with this whole coronavirus, this tremendous hint, and tremendous idea revealing that Mashiach is coming very, very soon. So we have to make sure that when we eat the matzah, we don't just tap into the bread of faith, as we discussed. The matzah is called the bread of faith in the Kabbalah. It's also called the bread of healing. And we should boost our faith. We should boost our healing, that we should be able to leave behind all the sickness and all the illness to go only to redemption. That one end with a story. There was a Jew that came to the Rebbe in Yechidus in a private meeting, and he said, Rebbe, I'm a foreigner, came from another country, I don't know where. He had two young kids, and his wife had given her a fatal prognosis. And he came to the Rebbe, said, Rebbe, what should I do? I'm here in this country. I barely speak English. I have two young children. The doctor said my wife is going to die. And my wife is going to die. And the Rebbe said, who said your wife's going to die? So he said, the doctor said she's going to die. She's not going to make it. So the Rebbe said, so the doctors write down, they gave you a prognosis, they wrote it down? So I said, yes. And he actually bought the Rebbe the medical record for his wife, to show the whole medical record and the prognosis, etc. The Rebbe looked at the paper. The Rebbe looked at the prognosis. The Rebbe took it, and the Rebbe tore it up. In front of the man's face, he tore up the medical records. The prognosis from the doctor that said that your wife is going to die, the Rebbe tore it up. And the Rebbe told this guy that you should know that the doctors are only given the permission by God and the power by God to heal. It says in the Talmud says, and it says in the verse, the doctor should surely heal this person that was injured. The doctors only have reshus l'rapos. They only have the authority and the power to heal. A doctor does not have the authority and the ability and the power to kill, and therefore you can only listen to the doctor to tell you for healing. Whatever medicine the doctor told you to take, continue taking the medicines that they prescribe. Continue doing whatever they told you, but do not listen to any negative prognosis. They cannot tell you that. Sure enough, she took the medicine. She did what the doctor told her, and even though they said she wouldn't make it, she made it. She lived many more years, many more years. I share this story because this is what we need to do to tap into the Afikoman Matzah, into the hidden aspects of the world, the hidden aspects of our soul, but the hidden aspects of the world where Mashiach is waiting in the wings, waiting to be revealed. We have to do that by being strong in our faith. We'll be strong in our emunah, the bread of faith, then we'll be strong in the bread of healing. We'll be strong in our connection to God. If we allow the media to scare us, and if we allow ourselves to get into panic and anxiety and worry, that's when we're in trouble. But if we stay strong in our emunah, we stay strong in our faith, and we know that even though right now we don't see it, right now the world is dark, right now the world is painful, right now we feel very alone. But we know that the Afikoman, it's hidden, but it's there. And if we don't lose faith, and if we don't fall asleep before the fall asleep in the main course, stay up. Dessert is coming, redemption is coming, and God willing, very soon, long before Pesach, long before we're forced to celebrate the Seders alone without our extended friends and family, we should experience the revealing of the hidden Afikomen should be revealed to all of us. My friends, may that healing come very, very soon. I hope to see you tomorrow night, 7:30, for a class on Elijah, the prophet of Elijah. Well, the next Monday, the do-it-yourself Seder. My friends, have a wonderful evening. Take care. God bless you. God bless everyone that needs a blessing, especially the Shoshana and I forgot it. Names. Everyone that needs a blessing should be healed. Good night.